All right, today we're going to do something that most Americans never do but ought to do. We're going to look at a map. Everyone's distracted with Israel and Russia and stuff like that, and I'm going to tell you this is probably a bigger powder keg than Israel. It's probably a bigger powder keg than Russia, Ukraine. Some of my audience has been in this little region right here. This little region is called Afghanistan. You got the different it's like the Peshawar Valley, and you got Kandahar, and then you got Helmand Province, and you got Kabul, and you got Bagram, where the Air Force base is. Again, I know a thing or two about this. I've never been to Afghanistan, but I know a lot of people who have. Okay, and I know enough about this region to know that it borders Pakistan. So now over here, we have Pakistan, right next to Afghanistan. The Taliban government has said that they're not going to be a safe haven for terrorists. Let me be the first to tell you, I don't believe them. I don't believe a fucking thing they say. I don't believe them. They say that they're not going to be a safe haven for terrorists. I don't believe them. But let's say you do believe them. Let's say magically, for some reason, you believe that Afghanistan's not going to be a safe haven for terrorists. You got Iran right over here. Iran likes giving money to terrorists. And then, you got Pakistan, which is a fairly lawless place that, there's a lot of cross-border travel between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And then you got Syria over here, and, Syria, it's had some allegations of being a place that could be harboring terrorists, right? And then, obviously you got Lebanon, and you got all this crazy stuff going on over here, which is kind of connected to all this in its own right. So the Kashmir region used to be an area that it is still contested to this day. Pakistan thinks that it should have control of the Kashmir region. India thinks that it should have control over the Kashmir region, and it currently does. But they've just kind of agreed to disagree, right? And so what's happening is Pakistan was harboring some terrorists because they have absolutely no control over their society. Just like Mexico has no control over their cartel problem, Pakistan really doesn't have control over its Islamic fanatic extremist problem. Some of their terrorist extremists that had camps sent their terrorists across the border and did terrorist attacks in India, right? And so India is like, look, Pakistan, you're not controlling yourself. So India is launching not just missiles and shit like that. It's like missile striking these like terrorist camps and shit that are in Pakistan. The big problem is both India and Pakistan, they both have nuclear weapons. So Western China is interesting as well because Western China is not that big of a fan of India. And there's been huge violent clashes on the border involving riot shields, involving like clubs, and because they got an agreement where like they're not going to carry guns. Um, Basically, they're not gonna carry guns on the actual border region, and so they get around that agreement by having like riot shields and sticks and batons and war clubs and all. I mean, for real, it gets pretty crazy. Like they're killing each other over there. Like it's like medieval combat on the border between India and China. And this has happened like so many times that it's happened. It's several times this has happened. Like I can't show the video on YouTube because YouTube actually has banned the videos. I mean, look, they trust each other so much that you'll notice that he literally has his pistol out, like he's a high-ranking member of the Indian military, and you'll notice he's got his pistol out. I mean, come on, like if that doesn't show that these people don't trust each other, I don't know what does. I mean, there's no trust here. There's like zero trust. These people do not trust each other. They do not like each other. Um, it is a volatile situation in its own right, right? Now, is it beyond the realm of possibility that Chinese intelligence agencies want this to happen between India and Pakistan? Is that beyond the pale? Like, am I crazy for thinking that maybe Chinese intelligence agencies want this to happen, this whole situation, because India will be weakened and there'll be less of a threat? Could China be behind this? Maybe. It's possible. It can't go unnoticed that all this crap started after Americans made a trade deal with India. It seems kind of suspicious, but I don't want to go completely into conspiracy theory mode because like I don't have any proof of that. What I do know is this situation has the potential to spiral out of control. Something I haven't even talked about, you got this civil war going on in Myanmar, right? This civil war going on in Myanmar, like there's just weapons everywhere. It's a hot zone, right? And so weapons could be traveling from Myanmar. You got like a huge black market weapons market in Myanmar. Wherever there's a war zone, you're going to have black market weapons, including in Ukraine. You got Indonesia down here. I know this. I know. You probably think I'm going crazy bringing up Indonesia. There's a rising amount of Islamic extremism and terrorist training camps in Indonesia. I know this 100%. I talk to people in the military. I know there's Islamic extremism going on in Indonesia right now. Huge population of regular Muslims living in Indonesia, but there's also some extremists there. They're building extremist camps there. The Islamic extremism is alive and well and is fueling larger regional conflicts because it's just like the situation we have with Mexico. You have something across the border that one government does not want to take responsibility for, and they're in bed with these people a lot of the time, right? Pakistan is a very poor country. They don't have control over their citizens. They don't have the resources to shut down all these terrorist training camps, and they don't trust the Indians because they have had their own wars and conflicts. They're not just going to like let the Indians come in and clean out the terrorists because they don't trust them. And so what it boils down to is India is like, look, you're going to like harbor these terrorists and have like a safe haven where they can just strike us and we can't retaliate. So India is like, okay, this is bullshit. That's India's position. That's how they feel about it, right? China is also in the midst of this because they have had border clashes with India. They don't like India either. I don't know the exact politics behind that, but there's some disputed regions that I think China wishes were theirs, but actually belongs to India, and vice versa. So India is stuck between a bunch of neighbors that don't like them, and India has just a gigantic population of people. That's the main thing that they have on their behalf. But India, China, Pakistan, all these countries have nuclear weapons. You have lawless countries. You have Afghanistan. You have Myanmar, which is an active war zone where it's a civil war. Now, the civil war in Myanmar is winding down, but that's exactly why that's so dangerous, believe it or not. The fact that it's winding down is, in of itself, all those weapons, there's going to be just be a surplus of just weapons lying around that people are going to get their hands on. People are going to sell weapons to feed their families and stuff, right? If you're a soldier in a militia group or something, and you got some weapons that you took off some dead guys, and you're hungry because you haven't been working, you've only been fighting, so you're going to sell your weapons, and you don't care who you sell them to, you're just selling some weapons. And if you think these weapons don't end up in the hands of, extremist organizations in like Pakistan or just wherever, this entire region is not Westerner people that were born and raised in the United States can't imagine what it's like to live in these regions, right? You're used to living in a world where if somebody's like, let's say somebody is standing in your front yard and they throw a brick through your window, right? You call 911 and the cops will be there in 5 minutes. Well, in this little region right here, it don't work like that. The cops are not going to come unless somebody has basically died in many of these regions. And in some of these regions, the cops ain't coming, period. A lot of these areas are lawless places. And then you have the centers of power. You have India and you have China. And then Iran is kind of a center of power. They kind of have control over their society to an extent. You have these centers of power and you have these spheres of influence. But then you have these states that are basically very rural and have very tribal people living in them, and there's not a lot of money. And these larger states are basically vying for power. I believe this is the region where a nuclear war would start because you have India, Pakistan, and China. You have a region full of people that don't really like each other, and they all have nuclear weapons. And they're also surrounded by these smaller countries that tend to harbor terrorist organizations at different times. You know, you got Taiwan and China. You got that situation over there. You got North Korea over here. You know, we've been sending a bunch of troops to the Philippines. Why are we sending so many troops to the Philippines? Because we know something's about to happen in this region. Okay, the government's not stupid. Why are we sending all these vehicles and all this shit to the Philippines? This is the Philippines, right? This is the region where all that shit's going on. I was just talking about. You got the civil war in Myanmar. You got this situation going on in India. You got the border clashes along China. You got the situation with Pakistan where India is launching rockets at the terrorist camps in Pakistan. You got Afghanistan, which is becoming a safe haven for terrorists. You know, Syria has recently toppled its government, but it's going to be a safe haven for terrorists. You know, Syria is going to be a safe haven for terrorists. This entire region is about to blow up. That is my prediction. And I'm not saying that I don't want it to happen, because there's not much, even as a prepper, there's not much I can do about radioactive fallout and me slowly dying of liver failure and my teeth falling out of my mouth. There's not much I can do about that, right? So I don't want this area to blow up. I would say it's like a coin toss. I would say there's a 40% chance we're going to see nuclear war soon. That's my opinion. You can quote me on that. That is my prediction for nuclear war. I think 40% chance. I don't think it will end all life on Earth. It could, but I don't think it'll go that far. There's a pretty powerful group of people, if you can call them that, pretty powerful faction that may prevent nuclear war from happening. It's a subject for another video, but these little guys don't want war to happen. I mean, you think I'm fucking joking, by the way. The Greys don't want, they don't like the whole nuclear war thing. The extraterrestrials have shut down nuclear weapons before, so that's another angle for another video. But just know that just know that when I talk about the little green men, I'm not fucking around, right? Like you know what I'm saying? The little green men may actually be our last hope to avert nuclear war. You know, shout out to my Zeta Reticulan friends. You could abduct me. Just, you know, if you want to abduct me, that'd be great. Just don't do it. Like, don't home invade me. Like, coming into my, like, just put some weird lights out in my yard and let me know telepathically that you want me to come out. Don't come in here and take me against my will. Like, we're going to have a problem if you do that. I guess I don't really have much say in the matter anyway with the level of technology they have, but yeah, so maybe the Zeta Reticulan, Solepsi Rei will prevent this nuclear war from happening. You know, maybe. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, leave a comment. It helps. Again, you know, just be a good friend. Be there for me. We need each other right now more than ever. Jordan Jareb, signing off.